Flygirl, Chapter 19. It takes 2 different railways to get from Florida to Louisiana. The trains look different in wartime from when we're at peace. Most of the men at the stations, or even here on the train, are in uniform, or old, or only boys. And the women, they travel in groups, some with children, eyes wide and eager for reunions, or red with saying goodbye. After Patsy's funeral, I kept on my dress blues. The pantsuit makes for easier traveling than a skirt. My silver graduation wings are still on the lapel. I'll take it all off soon enough. Mama, Grandy, and Abel are waiting for me on the other end of this track. It's been 5 months, and I'm finally going home. A smile tugs at my lips, but my stomach drops. Thomas is still missing in action. My daydream of a family reunion has an empty spot where my big brother should be. Mama will be angry with me. I promised I would find him, but those promises led nowhere. First seating for lunch, ma'am. The porter bows politely. I rouse myself and follow a handful of other passengers to the narrow whites-only dining car. Coloreds don't get dining cars on most southern trains. The porter gives me my own booth with red velveteen upholstery and scratched china plates. I order a bowl of tomato soup, then rest my cheek on the cool glass of the window and close my eyes. How can I eat when Thomas is missing? And Patsy. I shake my head. I don't want to think about Patsy. 3 months Thomas has been missing, lost somewhere in the Pacific. I say a little prayer over my lunch. Please help my brother stay alive. After a few minutes, I give up on my soup and return to my seat 2 cars away. Through the window, Georgia gives way to Alabama in a haze of thick green trees. The air is heavy down here. Even the windows open. I feel the humidity, like the sky is trying hard not to cry. Or maybe that's just me. The woman across from me glances at my uniform. She has green eyes set in a face so pink she looks like a baby doll. She sees me looking back at her and smiles, a pinched smile. Maybe I remind her of someone. Or more likely, she's thinking of the stories she's heard about the kind of girl that would join a man's army. I shrug. I'll change out of uniform tomorrow and go back to being Ida Mae Jones. In the meantime, I'm proud of what I am. A woman, Air Force, service, pilot. A wasp. I smile at the thought and stick my nose out the window. The wind rushes by and lifts my hair off my face. It feels good, almost like flying. For a moment I can forget the sore spot in my heart. I need every moment like this I can get. I sleep sitting up through Alabama. In the morning, as the train leaves Mississippi, I take my duffel and walk the length of the cars until I come to the door marked Coloreds at the back end of the train. I find the ladies' room between the 2 cars and slip inside. I'll leave the train as a colored girl. Grandy will be waiting for me. The room is more of a broom closet with a small sink, a short metal toilet, and a mirror on the wall. I straighten my blue uniform in the mirror, wipe away a bit of lint, touch the cool silver metal of the wings on my lapel. It looks right on me. It looks right on me, against my pale skin and soft brown hair. It makes me feel older than just 20 years. But only white women can wear them. And New Orleans is just an hour away. Time to turn back into a pumpkin. With a sigh, I open my bag and pull on my civilian clothes, a travel suit of soft brown and cream-flecked summer wool. The next time I look in the mirror, I'm no longer a wasp, a young and white, able to fly. Some pale skin, some soft hair, but now I could pass for colored, just another light-skinned girl. Someone knocks at the door, and I let them knock. I wait in the toilet till I feel the train come to a stop, and the conductor announces we've arrived in New Orleans. Only when I hear other people moving from both cars do I close my bag and unlock the bathroom door. I exit the train in a crowd of both coloreds and whites. If anyone recognizes me, they won't know me for the white woman I was when I boarded the train. Grandy is waiting for me outside the train station, away from the segregated platform. The old yellow pickup truck with its deep rusting bed and slumped seats is a welcome sight, but not as welcome as my grandfather's coffee-brown face. I grin at him and walk over. He nods at me and grabs my bag. "Didn't know what color you'd be when I saw you, so I thought it best to let you decide," he said seriously. "Grandy!" I scold him with a swat on the arm. "Where's Mama and Abel?" I ask. "I thought they'd be here." I can't hide my disappointment. Maybe Mama hasn't made peace with my new life the way I hoped she would. Grandy shakes his head. Your mother's back at the farm, is all he says. It worries me. Any news about Thomas? Grandy shakes his head again, and I could feel my heart sinking. It's not a real homecoming without all of us there. The rest of the ride back to Slidell, Grandy tells me small news, stories of the folks around town, about how the farm is doing, and the like. I tell him what fun training has been, what the graduation was like. I'm careful to say nothing about Patsy. As much as I want to talk about my friend, I know what happened to her will only scare Mama. And, from the looks of it, that's the last thing I can afford to do. We pull off the main highway, down our old dusty road, and my shoulders relax. It'll be harvest time in a couple of months. The strawberry fields are getting thick with fruit, and the shutters on old yellow house still need painting. The porch is empty, but the windows have been thrown wide open to catch the breeze. I put my hand on Grandy's arm as he shifts the truck into park. Lord, it's good to be home. Grandy smiles at me, that strong white-toothed smile. After a minute, I follow him out of the truck. Leave it for later, he tells me, when I go to get my bag from the truck bed. It makes me hesitate. What's going on, Grandy? What do you mean, baby girl? I stop, and my hands go on my hips, just like Mama's do. I mean, I have never in all my livelong days heard you say leave anything for later. In fact, I've been switched for saying as much myself. Grandy frowns at me, and I think I've gone too far. Young lady, I'm still your grandfather. If you know what's good for you, you'll get inside. He shakes his callous hand at me, a sweeping motion that gets my feet moving again, even though my luggage is left behind. Up the front steps that echo hollow as a good mushmelon, through the screen and wooded front doors, and into the foyer I go. Mama, Abel, I'm home, I call. I'm disappointed that they aren't waiting for me, but I'm so glad to be home. I try to be patient. I'm home, I say again more quietly. About time, too, says a man's voice. Thomas? I run into the parlor, plain as day. There is my big brother, laid up in Abel's narrow little bed. It must have taken 2 men to bring it downstairs. Thomas grins at me, and his face, half Mama's, half Daddy's, is so beautiful, so perfect, I almost don't see the wince of pain when he waves up or the bandages on his arm and chest. Tommy! I run toward him to throw my arms around his neck and hug him tightly. Easy, girl. Your brother's got enough broken on him without you breaking anything else, Mama says. The words are stern, but she's laughing. Suddenly I see the whole room clear as day. Mama's right there, right next to the bed, and a gangly kid standing on the other side of him. A gangly kid, whom I recognize as my not-so-little brother Abel. Oh, my God! Instantly I gasp. You don't take the Lord's name in vain in Mama's house, but this time no one seems to notice. Thomas! Abel, look at you! 5 months can change a little boy almost as much as 2 years can change a man. I turn to Mama and laugh. I must be Rip Van Winkle. How long have I been gone? Grandy comes in from the hallway, his hat in his hands. Long enough for the military to do their darn jobs and find your brother. And long enough for Abel to have growth spurt or 2, Mama adds with a grin. It's too much. I want to hug everyone. I want to laugh, and I want to hear everything. Instead, I burst into tears. It's all right, Clayfoot, Thomas says, patting my arm with his good hand. We're home now. Everybody's home. After dinner, when Abel's gone off to catch fireflies with the neighbor boys and Grandy's gone to bed, Thomas shows off his broken hip, the pin in his ankle, and tells me the story of his tour of duty. The Philippines are something else, Clayfoot. Hotter than a down-home July most of the time. My first night, the mosquitoes were so thick, it was a wonder we all didn't come down with malaria. We were at the back of the platoon of colored soldiers, not really going anywhere, just holding our ground, keeping this particular island away from the Japanese. We were treating dysentery and fevers, jungle diseases, not war wounds. And then one night, bang, like a bolt of lightning hit the place. Next thing I know, I'm hearing Japanese. Thomas laughs and points to himself, lying on Abel's bed in the living room in his pale blue striped cotton pajamas, the buttons winking pearly and bright. They caught me with my pants down, Ida. Too hot to sleep in PJs. I was in my boxers when the nips came, and I was lucky. Of all the personnel at the hospital, only 2 of us survived. In the kitchen, I hear Mama humming as she puts the dishes away. Tommy, I put my hand on his leg. It's just like it used to be, me sitting on the foot of his bed, a big cup of warm milk in my hands, listening to stories when I couldn't sleep. Only now, I've got stories of my own to tell him when the time comes. They tortured us, Ida. Something fierce. Didn't even want information. Just wanted to listen to us scream, I think. He looks at me with hooded eyes. They'd never seen Negroes before. We were a novelty like damn circus elephants. They didn't believe I was a doctor. Didn't believe I could be. He looks off in the distance. The night is soft around us. Who knows, Ida? Maybe it saved my life. Then one day American planes started flying overhead. We were in the jungle pretty deep, but they found us. Some of the other boys I was with were killed in the rescue, but the guys who pulled us out didn't know that they were rescuing anybody. They were just hunting Japanese. So the Japs blew up our hospital when they took us. It was such a mess. They thought everybody was dead. Thomas rests his head back in the goose-down pillows. Mama's plumped up all around him. I came home just as soon as I knew the trip wouldn't kill me. Don't know if I'll ever run again. He trails off and pats his hip. We're both thinking about him running to save Daddy. Look at Thomas fly. I put my hand over his, and he sighs. Looks like I've got about a month's worth of healing left. He grins at me. My own prognosis, but that'll probably be down to 2 weeks with Mama on duty. I grin back. She was so worried about you. She'll fix you right up, and then love you to death, and she'll take good care of you. Thomas shakes his head. Don't I know it? Remember that time I fell off the barn trying to catch swallows? Yeah, and you call me Clayfoot. Thomas laughs, makes him suck up a little air. Ribs are still bruised and broken, he explains, just like when I fell off that roof. Mama sat up with me around the clock until I could breathe without flinching. The only reason she's not in here right now is because you are. Good, I tell him. She could use the break, and so could you. Don't say break, he groans. We both laugh. I take a sip of my milk, and I'm reminded of Lily trying to calm herself before her flight test. Thomas reads something in my face. Now, what's this about you joining the army, he asks. I thought you were going to stay here on the farm. Like I asked you to. He doesn't say it, but I hear it just the same. The wind leaves my lungs. I denied Thomas was my brother, so I could stay in the Wasp. He's watching me, but I can't meet his eyes. Don't think I don't remember what you said, I tell him. I tried to stay, I really did. But the news coming back from overseas was worse and worse, and it just so hard, sitting on my hands, waiting for you to come home. So I joined the fight the only way I could. By pretending to be white? My stomach aches. It sounds so Atlantish to hear him say it. Abel showed me this article one day about Uncle Sam looking for women who could fly. Suddenly it was like everything Daddy taught me about flying for a reason. A good reason, too. Thomas is quiet, but I found my footing again. I've flown from Philadelphia to California. I even learned to swim. You? Swim? Thomas looks impressed in spite of himself, and then he shakes his head. That's great, Clayfoot, but Mama needed you on the farm. No, she wanted me at home, but she didn't need me, Thomas. She doesn't need much of anything. Between her and Grandy, this place runs like a Swiss clock, and Abel's got more friends all the time. No, it was just me and Jolene cleaning the Wilson house, collecting cans and pantyhose. I twist my fingers together, as twisted as my tongue feels. You just wouldn't understand. Thomas smiles. Sure I would, Clayfoot. It's like standing in that field out there, too small to pick the tractor off of Daddy, and too slow to get help in time. My breath catches in my throat. I look at my brother, and old tears rise to the surface in my eyes. Thomas has always blamed himself for not being able to save our father. That's why he wants to become a doctor. Kind of like me becoming a wasp when I couldn't save Thomas. But I still couldn't save him. Yeah, I agree. Like that. And you wish you could do more, he says quietly. Yeah. Thomas sighs. The only difference is you can. And you are. But it's a dangerous thing you're doing, Ida May, playing white. I've been in this man's army. I hate to think what will happen if they figure out you're colored. He shakes his head, and I think of what I've already done in the name of passing. Tommy, I'm so sorry. I grit my teeth to keep me from crying. God help me, I've lied so many times over to join the WASP, and I know I'll keep doing it as long as they let me fly. Thomas shrugs. Still, I'm proud of you, Clayfoot. I think about the sight of those planes flying over that prison camp, and I know that we're there because of girls like you, and I couldn't be prouder. I laugh, a choking sound, and feel like I can breathe again. Stop messing with me, Thomas. Oh, I know better than to mess with a wasp. I swat him, and he swats back. Maybe he understands. Maybe this is his forgiveness. Mama comes into the room. Ida May, don't make me tell you again. You'll break the boy beyond repair. He started it. I don't care who started it. Mama gives us her best. There'll be trouble in this house. Look, hands on her hips, dish towel still in her hand. It's finished now. And then she smiles. Lord, it's good to have you home. Now you can both be home and stay. Thomas and I look at each other. I've been honorably discharged, he explains apologetically. Oh, well, I'm just getting started. Thomas nods as if to say, I know. But Mama doesn't look happy. Mama, she leaves the room without a word. Thomas and I sit there in silence. I know better than to go after her now. If I do, I'll be asking for permission to leave, and she didn't really give it to me the first time. She certainly won't now, but I have to go back. I have to report for duty. Thomas squeezes my hand. Don't worry, Clayfoot. You know she's proud of you, don't you? All she could talk about once she was done talking about me was you. He laughs and shakes his head. I must admit, I didn't know you had it in you. I raise an eyebrow. Well, Brother Thomas, there's more where that came from. Now Thomas laughs even harder. Boy, we're in trouble now. I find myself laughing too. I've got 6 days at home. I won't ruin them by arguing with my mama now. It can wait. It will have to. Well, it's past my bedtime. I stand up and stifle a yawn. You're kidding, Thomas says. It's 6 a.m. in Manila right now. Well, it's bedtime in Slidell. I'll see you at breakfast. Good night. He pulls me in for a one-armed hug. Good night. I mount the stairs, hearing the familiar sounds of the house creaking around me. Abel is asleep in his room, on a cot Mama used to keep in the attic, but deemed too springy for Thomas to convalesce in. I tiptoe into Abel's room and kiss my beanpole little brother good night. Back in my own bed, the ceiling is too low. I miss the barracks, believe it or not, the open cockpits of our trainer planes. I close my eyes and pretend I'm simply flying at night with the glowing instrument panel, my only guide. It helps. My thoughts drift to Lily in her apartment, 10 stories above Manhattan's Fifth Avenue, and Patsy in Florida, unable to wear her landlady's wedding pearls. Patsy cake. I sit up and dig around in my suitcase for my knotted handkerchief. I undo a knot for Thomas and feel lighter for it. Patsy was right. It helps to travel light, but some things you just can't leave behind. Those are my last thoughts, and then I fall asleep.